TBA. Together again.
Well, hello. I'm Chris Meredith, and this is
Josh Smith. It's nice to see you today.
And we're with you with the Beginning Euphonium and Tuba clinic here for TBA. We're honored to be with you today. Something that is very exciting for us to talk about, Tuba and Euphonium. But in all honesty, like we super love teaching beginners and seeing kids go from like zero knowledge to like crafting an experience for them that's truly meaningful. Josh and I are excited to share some of our key tips today. We have a very abbreviated session with this, obviously, under 30 minutes, so won't be able to hit everything, but looking forward to hitting as much as we can.
This session is going to be a deep dive in the first 9 to 18 weeks of a beginning Tuba Euphonium class, but we're going to try our best to cover everything from considerations before day one all the way to the end of the year when we get to what we think is the pinnacle of a beginner Tuba Euphonium class, which is in the Hall of the Mountain King, right? I mean, it doesn't get better than that, right? Well, let's just dive into it. Before day one, there's a couple of things that we have to do to set our classes up for success. You can't teach Tuba Euphonium students unless you have Tuba Euphonium students, right? So the first thing that you want to make sure is that you have enough students in your Tuba Euphonium class by recruiting them. If you're somebody who typically struggles to get Tuba Euphonium students in your program, definitely spend a lot of time hyping up those instruments whenever you go speak to prospective students. Take the instrument with you. I always play the Darth Vader's theme, the Imperial March, and every time I do, I see eyes light up and kids realize that they want to play the tuba. Hype up how important it is to the band. It's the king and queen of the instruments. No band can sound great without a really awesome low brass tuba euphonium section. Then the last thing that you're looking for in that component is we're looking for students that are going to be the most successful on these instruments, the easiest. Anybody can play the tuba euphonium, but it's our job to find students that are going to be really great right off the gate. The number one factor is motivation to play the tuba. If you can get them to fall in love with the euphonium, with the tuba, they're going to go way farther than you can ever carry them. And then we're also looking for a couple of physical things. We're looking for medium to full lips that will produce the proper vibration on the instrument. And we're also looking for a dental structure that's wide enough for the mouthpiece to rest on. The tuba mouthpiece is huge, and we just have to make sure that everything's gonna fit right there. Before the first day of school, you're also gonna wanna make sure that your instruments are in great working condition, that we're handing students instruments that work just how they're supposed to. Oil the valves, grease the slides, vacuum the pet hair out of the inside of the case so that we don't get the last guy's dog in there. And also just make sure it looks great, make sure it's shiny. Never underestimate the power of a shiny instrument. Like that's half the reason Chris is a band director is because he loves shiny tubas, really, right?
That's right. Like first impressions matter a lot, and so that's really what we're getting to with all of that. So when you send out a flyer, or if you bring a poster to the elementary school, don't underestimate how every single picture that you have in that flyer or that poster really counts. So just make sure that you definitely have some shiny tubas held by kids that are smiling, because one of the biggest things, parents and or kids that are not familiar with the tuba, they're instantly thinking too big, gonna be heavy, not comfortable. But if you have kids that are smiling, holding the tuba, like, that kid looks like I could be that kid.
Yeah.
It's like it's little tiny nuanced things that really go a long way, and it's like creating inception in there with elementary kids.
Yeah, for sure.
All the
Absolutely.
time. All right, so enough of that. Like, let's go into like the nuts and bolts of like the beginning of the year and what our kids need in the classroom. So before you prepare to handle the instruments for the first time, we need to spend time like really even identifying every single part of the instrument, just making sure your kids become kind of experts at that. They need to feel like they're becoming the expert, right? Like they certainly should be the expert on the campus. There should be like the flute players in the band program should not know more about the tuba than your tuba players, or whatever kid that's in like taking the whatever robotics video game class over band. They should not know more about it. So your kids need to feel empowered by that. When they take their instrument home and grandma or grandpa stops by and points to something on the tuba or euphonium and says, hey, what's that? That's a great moment for your kid to feel empowered to be able to say, oh, that is this, and it does this. Don't underestimate those moments too, because those are the moments where they instantly feel like, oh, I actually know more than my adults in my house and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I am a tuba player, I am a euphonium player. Those are little things that you just don't want to skip. And I know most of us go through those sorts of things with all of our classes, but that's really something that's really very important for us. So when it goes into like handling the instrument and all of that, we want to be like super picky, and we want to make it like almost like Christmas Day itself, Christmas morning, right? Like, so in many cases, teaching beginner classes, we wouldn't even open up the case for like the first week. Maybe we would, when we identify the parts of the instrument. But for them to actually physically open the case and do all the things, we wait a couple of days and like just build up the all the excitement for all of that. But we also do that so that we can also gauge kids on, they know how to take instruction from us, they know how to receive criticisms, and like how to grow from that through alphabet stuff or whatever, all the music theory sort of stuff that we do. So then when we get to the point where we actually open up the case as a class for the first time, that's an assignment that's kind of like the 20th or 30th assignment we've done as a class. So they are totally in with all of that. So be picky every step of the way, and just make it a super big deal. So like I would have almost too many steps, man. I would have too many steps in the process to open up the case. Like step one is like place the case exactly the same way for every single person. For us, it would be like behind the chair.
Yeah, behind the chair.
And then step two, prep the case for unlatching. So you want to like lay it flat, have the handle facing, explain where what it should kind of look like. And we can model all of that from the front of the class. Especially if you have like a semicircle or something where everyone's like dialed in to the center, they can kind of see everything you're doing. You can do that. You can check. You do that. You can check them, all that sort of thing. And just wait and be patient. And just wait. Wait for that kid named Josh.
Yeah.
Like
the slow ones.
Yeah. Like in your class, and just wait for him, and he might need 10 more seconds to just make sure that handle is exactly where it is. But you just wait.
Yeah. Spend that time. Use that time now. That's gonna pay off later.
And then it teaches the class like, listen, we're all in this together. We're starting from ground zero. We will move together as a class. And then step three. So then we unlatch together, but we don't open. Like we unlatch and you just wait. And they're like,
It's exciting.
Yeah,
it's like going up a roller coaster.
Step four, like specifically talk about like where do you place your left hand and right hand on the case before you even open it. Because like even being that detailed about it, and let's be honest, like by the time we get to the end of the year, the kids may have adjusted those places a little bit, but we're telling them where you place your hand even on the case is very important. So by the time we get to the instrument, they will already have the awareness of like, oh, he's going to tell us or she's going to tell us exactly where to place our hands. Step five, don't even let them do it yet. Make them watch you do everything, right? We model everything for our kids, whether it's playing stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, I know we're taking a lot of time doing this right now in like 30 minutes, but like this is that we
it's
feel
that
like
important.
It's so important. It's like the first interaction, personal interaction with their instrument. And then specifically, step six, they open it, right? They open it and give them a chance to practice that. And now, we place left hand and right hand on the instrument, okay? And you check everyone before we lift the instrument out. And then step seven, I love this. Just lift the instrument about 12 inches out of the case. They all do it together. And they're like, oh, next step is going to be like, we're going to take it to our chairs. Nope. Next step is you put it back in the case because like it's a great safe place. You're 12 inches out or 6 to 12 inches out. You tell them, okay, bell first, right? If you want to avoid like little dings and everything, you go bell first and then you place the body in. You have them practice that a few times and they start feeling like, oh, I get this. And then we lift it out, go to our chairs and kind of go from there. But like you have to have your 7-step process, your 15-step process for everything.
Yeah.
And we're not even playing the instrument yet. But like that's really important to be able to to build that relationship with your class on something as simple as that.
Yeah. If you haven't noticed yet, Chris gets excited talking about these kind of things because he's a band nerd. I mean, I am too, and that's kind of what we're sharing with our students at this point is at the beginning of the year on day one, they're not like band kids yet. They're not necessarily band nerds yet, but that's kind of our goal is that if they can enjoy the process of opening a case, like that's so simple, right? But that's kind of what helps build the culture of being meticulous and kind of really getting into the whole like identity, like I'm a euphonium player, like I'm a tuba player. That culture goes a long way. It's also worth noting that there are so many different types of cases and so many different types of tubas. You might have 3-valve, you might have 4-valve, you might have top valve, you might have front valve, you might have the ones with the really long bells, you might have the ones that are wrapped really short. That there's a lot of different wraps of tubas and euphoniums. It's worth taking the time to get to know your inventory. And so we could say, yeah, your right hand goes here, but you might not have that type of tuba. So definitely spend the time to know what your 12, 27, 48 million step process is for your inventory and your instruments. So the first lesson I teach in band every year, it's a really hard one. We start really advanced. It's how to sit in a chair. Really, like we learn how to sit in a chair the band way, because it's not like this in any other class. And so like seriously, on day one, it's welcome to class. This is band. We're gonna learn how to sit in a chair today. And they laugh. They're like, okay, I know how to sit in a chair, but not the band way. And we start the 3 kind of sitting positions that we sit in on day one, so that later when we add the instrument, we're going to be good to go. And those 3 positions are relaxed, ready, and playing position. You're going to see some pictures here. I'm going to show you the tuba version, and Chris is going to show you the euphonium version. So the first position is relaxed position. We're sitting with our butts in the back of the chair, sitting tall with a straight back against the backrest. Our feet are flat on the ground, and our knees are about a 90-degree angle. Our instruments are laying across our lap. We always go tall ways, not flat ways, and one arm is always hugging the instrument close to our bodies for safety. This is how our students sit when they're not receiving direct instruction, and they get a little bit of a brain break. It's also important to note that this is band relaxed, not like Minecraft relaxed. Like we're not chilling at home on our couch. We are taking a little bit of a break in band class. And these are important, though this is the kind of the position that I would say we spend the least amount of time in. Whenever students are being addressed, we're now going to move to ready position. We move to the front half of the chair. The back is still straight, the feet are still flat, and our eyes and ears are on the adult that is speaking to us. You'll notice that we're doing a couple of different things here between the tubas and the euphoniums. The euphoniums are still laid down in the lap tall ways, but they're now diagonal, and we're looking for 2 connecting points with the bottom bow at the left hip and then the top bow at the right knee. This is a 45-degree angle. This is so that whenever we rotate up to playing position in just a second, that we're gonna have really good setup to have great posture. The tubas already rotate up as if they're going to play, but the mouthpiece doesn't come in contact with the face quite yet. This is gonna save you a little bit of time because especially in beginning tuba class, it's going to take them a little while to actually get set up and situated and comfortable and secure. So we're always going to give them ready position to start that process. It's going to save you a lot of time down the road. When it's time to play and our band director tells us to play, we're going to move to playing position. The euphoniums rotate up so that the mouthpiece meets the face, and both instruments are brought to come in contact with the embouchure. Not the other way around, right? You wouldn't eat a bowl of soup by getting a spoon and then taking yourself to the spoon. That's silly. You wouldn't do that with your instrument either. You know, so many times we'll see students that get their instruments and then do weird things to get to play them. They'll like get weird posture going on here. And so we always emphasize that everything we do is we bring the instrument to us, we set ourselves up correctly, and then just bring the instrument to meet our face. The students should never change the way that they sit because of a chair or a stand. We're actually going to start this whole process without music stands in front of us so that there's really nothing in the way and we can see everything that's going on with our students. It's a little clunky of a process at first, especially with tuba class, because those instruments are so big and the students are usually pretty small. And we're also looking for a couple of key things in this playing position. We're sitting super tall for good airflow. Our feet are flat on the floor so we can tap them and we feel nice and secure. Don't let your tuba players cross their legs underneath their chairs. We're looking for a slight downward angle of the lead pipe receiver. That'll set up our playing really well. We'll talk more about that in a second. And our hands are in the correct place on the instrument. The left hand always gives the instrument a nice loose hug. We're holding onto the second or third valve pipes. We're going to watch out for students who want to place their left hand on the bell or maybe grab their chair or just let it hang down to the side. That's just going to cause shoulder tension and it's going to lead to bad habits down the road. Again, make sure everybody is doing the correct thing now, invest that time, and it's really going to pay off later. The right hand, we're going to keep this as simple as possible. Shake your right hand down by your side. Find that nice natural C shape that our hands rest in, and we're just going to place that on the valves. Keep it pretty simple. We're looking for a straight line from the back of the hand all the way down to the elbow, and that's the same angle that we want to have whenever we play these top valve instruments like the euphonium and the tuba. For valve front instruments, the left hand can grab around the big pipe on the left side. Again, we're just like hugging it to make sure it doesn't fall over. We're not supporting the weight of it yet, with this hand at least. The right hand, again, that nice relaxed seat, we just meet the valves. The hands don't hold the instrument. We both use and recommend these shelf liners as a tuba grip. And all this is just it's a $10 roll of shelf liner that you can find at your local supermarket or hardware store. It costs about $10. You can probably get about 5 or 6 students worth of grip out of this. Pretty easy. All you do is wrap it around your leg and it provides all the grip so that I can actually hold the tuba just by making sure it doesn't fall over. This frees up all of my upper body to be so relaxed. And I think that this enables us to sit better so we can sound better. That we really want to make sure that this playing position is great so that nothing gets in the way of our playing. So definitely take the time to figure out with each student how to use these shelf liners for better grip. I will say it takes a couple of days to get used to. They're going to slip around a couple of times. That's okay. It's so worth it. I believe in this totally, that this enables us to sit with really, really awesome posture.
Yeah, and just at the very bottom of our document that we provided, you're going to find some like equipment stuff there, and there's there's not a link, but there's like a little description of exactly what it's called. So if you go on to Amazon or just go on to Google or something, you could look it up really easily and see what we're talking about. But it's something that's widely used in our area for sure. All right, next, super simple stuff about like just tone production, right? What are the first steps of that here in euphonium and tuba class? And everything starts with air, and we know that. I mean, building correct habits by using your air or your wind is so important in all the wind beginner classes. So before we play our instrument, or even on our small part of our instrument like a mouthpiece, we've got to teach students how to breathe correctly. So I'm going to keep this super short. We'll probably do a lot more on this in the real session.
Definitely.
But you want to just make it easy, right? I mean, you can go into breathing gym stuff, and there's so many different levels of that, in college, even upper level high school, that you can really get in depth talking about all sorts of stuff. But we're just talking just like basic, beginner level everything. We bring awareness to the kids. Number one, kids, like when you walk down the hallway, you're not breathing the same way that you need to, that we need to breathe in band class.
Yeah.
Verbatim things that we say in our class, right? And then from there, you make whatever works for you, but do something that's super simple in your class that's a breathing exercise. So I initially just start with a 4 in and a 4 out, just so we get that pattern of 4 counts. But then I quickly try to shift to a out for 2, get out bad air, in for 2, and then out for 4, as if we're playing like a whole note, So you can do like a breathing chant like that, out, 2, breathe, play, 2, 3, 4, or you can say blow, 2, 3, 4. You can do whatever, whatever makes sense with that. So that's the initial stage. Make awareness to like how the air is coming in. So maybe placing a hand by the belly button, maybe placing the other hand in the very small of the back, so they understand that both the front and the back's going to move slightly, right?
Yeah.
Talk about how the lungs expand, how they go every which direction.
Like a balloon. Right?
Yeah, very
every
much
way.
so. Yep. We just bring awareness to that, and it may take a few days for the kids to all of them to grab onto it, but it's very much worth going over daily here in the very beginning. And the first time maybe it's going to take 10 minutes. Maybe the second day it's going to take 8 minutes, and the next day it takes 6. But it's definitely worth doing daily for a long while here at the very beginning. So after you do this initial investment and just breathing in and out, change it to one hand maybe on the belly button, right? Then one hand right in front, the palm right in front, so they can start gauging the exhalation just a bit, and they can start feeling what the air column is doing, right? We want them to be aware of the shape of the air column, how it's striking the palm, the temperature, and the speed. Like if you can bring awareness to that, you have won the game.
Yeah.
With beginner wind teaching.
Yeah.
It's what are you doing without the instrument first, and then bring it to the instrument, and just creating these steps. So describe those to them, and of course in trumpet class is going to be different, in tuba class slightly, for how that air column is going to really feel all the time. So that was just real quick on that.
Yeah.
We have to move on.
We're building awareness for all these things. Like our students have never thought about their face in this way before. They've never thought about how they're breathing out before, besides, man, I'm breathing hard right now in gym class. So we're building all this fine awareness of these things. All these subjects can get so in-depth and detailed, and man, we could sit here and nerd out about, what the soft palate does when you play and exactly how the lungs expand. Yeah. But the bottom line is
for a second though, I forgot to mention this, it's just, you have to model everything.
Oh yeah.
We can't just talk about it, and we're talking about it and just using words, but most of your kids, especially if they're a visual learner like I am, if you say things to me, I'll hear half the words, and then what are we doing? I have to see it, first. So
Definitely.
And being a little brass player, we're not very quick.
Yeah.
We're pretty slow. So when you talk to your low brass class, especially if you're a horn player primarily or something like that, we're not in your boat. We're not at the same level.
Cool that down. Cool your jets here.
So model everything.
Yeah.
Be patient. And maybe repeat yourself a few times.
Yeah, and just keep everything as simple as possible. Small vocabulary words at a time. Like air column is enough to teach. That word is big enough. We don't need to talk about what's going on and all up in here. You know what I'm saying? So in that same line of thinking, how do we make our tubas and euphonium sound characteristic? What gives them that big, nice sound? Well, it's voicing and it's the soft palate and it's the tongue. But whoa, pause. Right? We just talked about that. We have a really simple way. It's called vowel sounds. So the beauty of the brass instruments is that whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. So if you want your tuba players to sound like ta, then they should have that mouth shape whenever they play. Aw. So for tubas, we use aw. I spell that capital A-U-H. All capital letters, big, dramatic, open mouth, aw. For euphoniums, it's ooh, O-O, or you could spell that with a U. Ooh. And again, the beauty of this is that if I want the tuba players to sound like ta, I just have to make sure that the inside of my mouth is ta. If you happen to hear a student that sounds like this, so it's kind of like E, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what I'm doing to cause that sound. Whatever you put into the instrument is what comes out of it. So how does that apply to breathing? Well, anything we can do now to start building familiarity and building a frame of reference for what we're actually doing when we play the instrument is great. So if you can start incorporating ooh and aw with each instrument into your breathing exercises, that's going to pay off down the line and helping us make sure that we sound like our instruments when we get there.
If you look at our handout, you'll see some of these spellings and everything, and some of the most master teachers I've ever had a chance to work with, they do talk about the French spelling, or the Cajun way of saying do, or tu, and that is really interesting, because it kind of gets us exactly there.
Exactly.
So have all your kids take French, or that's a waste of time. Don't do that. All right, next is embouchure, and embouchure again. Just keep everything super simple with this. I think we're both huge advocates of not over-explaining anything. How few words can you say something to just get them to do it well, and so simpu, right?
Simpu.
Yeah. So like that's
easy.
Is that what you use to have your kids like form their embouchure?
Yeah, exactly. We go simpu. You take the voice out of it. There it is. There's your embouchure.
And it's a lot of going, okay, everyone say sim, and then everyone says sim, and you look around the class, and now and then you have mirrors, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great time. And then so it's now everyone say sim, poo, and everyone does that. There'll be some giggling.
Winnie the Pooh. What else? What other kind of poo would there be?
Yeah, that's right. So, but it's all good, and even give them 10 seconds to laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's culture. Yeah.
Right. And like what other classes, like, the other classes, for these kids, like they went from an elementary class where it's like only one teacher, right? They stay in the classroom all day. Now they're in most cases, right? They have 7 different teachers or 8 different teachers.
Yeah.
And then like they're trying to navigate like where the line is. And they go, oh, we can laugh a little bit. Band's like fun.
Whoa.
Like kind of strict. Like I can't do everything. But like just let them do that. Anyway, so simpu, and then start developing that. Start then talking about how the air is then activated for the aperture, and then using those words too. Right.
Yeah.
Super important that we can use embouchure.
Use the correct words.
Yeah. Use aperture. So then adding the air to then the embouchure. Now, to be honest, even before I start talking about the embouchure, if we're just doing like the breathing stuff that we were talking about a moment ago, a lot of the kids are already naturally going to do what we're talking about. Exactly. Because we talked about taking in air and out air, and then I start just talking to them naturally about, okay, make sure your air column feels cold, and like we want to pin the air right in a specific place in your palm of your hand, and then I'll demonstrate. We haven't even talked about embouchure yet, really, but having you said simpu or any of that, half the class will already be naturally set, and then when you start talking about simpu, hopefully that's the other half of the class.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of things will happen very naturally in this whole process. So now we get to kind of scaffold into actually playing. Pretty simple process. So the first step was with no mouthpiece. Now we're going to place the mouthpiece on our face. So we have these mirrors in front of us so we can see what's going on here, because a lot of students haven't really taken the time to get to know their own face this way. So I'm going to always place the mouthpiece for them the first time. We're always going to tell them exactly how we want to do things, just like opening the case. Thumb and 2 fingers at the end of the shank so I can see their face. I'm actually going to do this first, and I'm going to place it right in the middle of their face. We're looking for 50% top lip, 50% bottom lip. If you're going to be wrong, a little bit too high is better. 60-40, maybe that's about as extreme as we go. Maybe 2/3 on the top, 1/3 on the bottom. We never want to go any lower than 50-50. And then all we do is we just add that air. We're now going to breathe through the nose, though, because we don't want to disrupt the embouchure. So, sim, then through the nose.
And as you do that, as you're placing this per kid, and you could take some time. It's so important. It's the first time they feel.
Oh yeah.
It's the first time they feel what a mouthpiece should feel like. So you want even pressure or whatever, evenness there. You'll notice there too the angle of the shank, and that's something you bring up with the rest of the class.
Yeah,
they'll be able to see the angle of the shank from everyone.
Yeah.
That's slightly down too, and that's another thing. That's another touch point when you're blowing air, just air on your hand. The hand's not up here where your nose is, right? I mean, the hand's going to be have that slope to it, and being very specific about all those things. Just taking the air column and then now putting it to the mouthpiece.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll notice that I also didn't vibrate then. That's great. We don't want to start with vibration. Almost nobody will naturally vibrate at this point if we're just sim-poo. We might have some, and if that happens, that's great. But for now, we're just listening for a calm, windy sound. We're not looking for like a Texas tornado. We're looking for a cool summer breeze right now. Now we're going to slowly bring the lips together so that they touch, and a vibration might happen. If you listen carefully, you can actually hear that there's that nice, cool breeze sound in there. We're listening for that wind. We're not listening for this buzz. We don't want buzz. We just want a nice, airy vibration there. It's important that, again, we don't overcorrect small mistakes, and that we allow this process to take time, and that's okay. We just want it to be nice and relaxed. If, let's say your tuba players are probably going to have a hard time creating a great vibration the first time, that's totally fine. Totally fine. Allow them to take a couple of tries to get it. If you want to, you can actually add your pinky to cover half the hole at the end of the shank. That adds some resistance, and it'll make it a little bit easier to vibrate as well. Whenever we're making these sounds, at first it'll be a non-specific but still controlled pitch in the mouthpiece. And then as we go, we're going to slowly give them tools to be able to maybe siren up a little bit, siren down a little bit, to kind of control our air until we can meet at a concert F. The goal is to be able to buzz a concert F on our instrument, or on the mouthpiece before we put on the instrument. And then whenever we go to put on the instrument, we've already learned how to sit with our instruments in our hands at this point. We're working on these things a couple minutes every day, so that whenever we get to this point, when we're ready to plug everything in, we emphasize everything is the exact same. I'm still sitting just like we learned how to sit on day one. I'm holding the instrument just like I learned how to hold the instrument, a couple days ago, a week ago, right? The angle is still down. I'm still breathing the exact same way that Mr. Meredith told me the very first time that we talked about breathing. There is really no difference, except for now it's just going to be a little bit louder and sound a little bit cooler. And then we have our very first sounds. You might have a lot of great success getting that concert F the first time. You might not. But no matter what, we're excited. We are very happy. Man, I remember the first time I made sounds on my instrument. Do you?
No.
Chris is old. The memory goes around this age. But I remember the first time I made sounds on my instrument. It was a big moment. That's a huge moment. And share that excitement with your students and allow them to be excited, and then kind of rein it in and try again. Throughout this whole process of making sounds on our instrument for the first time, we're going to do everything we can to play every game and trick them to being meticulous with everything we do. Man, like pull out all the stops. Like 2 people play, everybody plays. 2 people play, everybody plays. Play hired, fired. Play mess up, drop out. Play popcorn, or pick a friend to join you. Pick every game you can to spend a lot of time on every part of this process. Play the games on just blowing air through the mouthpiece. Play the games on just bringing our lips together and seeing if we can create a vibration. Play the game with getting sets, the correctest, the fastest, play all the games that you can to trick them into doing these things and enjoying them and being good at it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we're out of time, and we haven't even covered. I mean, we covered maybe just 40% of really what we want to cover in the live session. But understand the purpose of the video session. So feel free to reach out to us.
Absolutely.
Look at that handout. Our email addresses are there.
They're going to be right here on the screen.
And then, if you check out the very back of the handout, you're going to see some references to some exercises that you can do that are there for you. Some key handouts there with actually some blurbs, some teaching blurbs on it as well.
Definitely.
And everything. So hopefully we're going to see you in person, or if we already saw you in person, this is just like a reminder or whatever. But hi Gillette.
Hi Gillette.
Hi Mel. Hi everyone. And we just thank you for spending the time with us.
Yeah, definitely.